Hi, and welcome to Noble Character Crafts. My name is Amy, and I'm coming to you from eastern Nebraska, where I live with my husband and our 5 children. Today is Monday, November 20th, 2023. A huge welcome to any new or returning viewers. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you really enjoy this episode. This is a channel all about my crafty life, and today I have knitting, crocheting, and sewing to share with you all. I will have the links to the places that you can find me in the description box below, as well as the show notes for this episode. I'm hosting a year-long make-along on Instagram called the Make 9 2023 Mal, and that is a make-along for you to join in with the Make 9 challenge, where you can choose 9 projects that you would like to work on this year, make a grid of those projects, and post it to Instagram. And then anytime that you post a picture of your works in progress or one of your finished items from your board, you can also include the hashtag Make 9 2023 Mal, and that will enter you in the prize pool that I draw from every once in a while throughout the year. And even though it's already, late November, it's not too late to join in the make-along because it's just a participatory make-along, so you don't have to finish anything. It's just for the fun of joining in. So even if you have Christmas gifts that you're working on or whips that you would like to finish off before the end of the year or anything, it's very, very easy going. So any craft is included, whips are included in this make-along, and again, you don't have to finish anything. So please join in if you haven't already. It's never too late to join in. I have a few prizes to give away today. This first prize I had shown off a couple of episodes ago, but the winner of it never claimed it, and so I'm going to be re-gifting it. It's this beautiful hank of yarn that is naturally dyed by a wooden nest, along with this cute little box that has a yarn storage box, and it also can act as a yarn bowl. So this, again, is from a wooden nest. It is a sock base, 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, and 10% nylon. It's fingering weight, and it is naturally dyed with walnut and madder. And then the yarn box is by Loops and Threads. So there's the details of it. And the winner of this prize is Daphne Naomi, who is one of the co-hosts of the Rose Opal Knits podcast. So congratulations to you, Daphne. I'm so excited that you won a prize. And so I already have your address, so I will just get that off in the mail to you as soon as I can. The second prize is, and I should mention, all of these prizes were donated to me by a viewer of this channel named Joy. So thank you again, Joy, for your generous donations. This is not the first time she's donated prizes, so I'm just very, very grateful for her generosity. This is a beautiful sock set by Charming Ewe hand-dyed yarns, and it is a DK sock set. So it's 85% superwash merino, 15% nylon, and the colorway is called Woodlands. So it comes with I'm sure this is 100 gram. I could be wrong because the only label it has on here is that it says it's 245 yards to 100 grams, but I'm assuming that the bigger skein is a full 100 gram, and then this is a 20 gram mini. Maybe that's only 10 grams. It is pretty little. I'm not sure. I didn't weigh it, but anyway, it's a very cute sock set. And also, along with this yarn, I'm going to be gifting another one of these yarn needle cases. This one has more of a travel theme to it. It has campers and cars on it that look like they're traveling. And it's by the same maker that I showed off on a couple of episodes ago when I gave away one of these needle cases. It's 1,000 Stars. Kathy Lancy is the maker. And I'll link to her Etsy shop. But inside, you open it up and it has all of these great pockets for needle storage. And then it also has this little zipper pouch on the edge. So it's really cool. And this folds over so to keep your needles safe from falling out. And then it just folds up on itself, and it has a little magnetic clasp on it. So really a cute pouch. to go along with this yarn. And the winner of this set is Irene Cat 111 on Instagram. Congratulations to you. If you would please just get in contact with me, the easiest way to get in contact with me is through direct message on Instagram. And just let me know your first and last name and your mailing address, and I'll get this off in the mail to you as soon as possible as well. And then the last prize I have to give away is another sock set from Charming Ewe. This one comes with 2 minis, and it's called July Jingle. Again, it's a DK sock set, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And again, I'm not 100% sure, but I think the full skein, which is so beautiful. I love the colors in this one too. I'm assuming that's 100 grams, and then the 2 minis are probably 20 grams. But very, very pretty set. And then I'm also going to be sending along this cute little pouch. And it has no tag on it, so I'm not sure who the maker of this little pouch is, but it's super cute. And those will be going off together to KC Knits on Instagram. Congratulations to you. And again, just let me know your mailing information. Thank you so much to everybody who's continued to join in the Make Along all year long. And again, don't hesitate to continue to join in as we head into the end of the year. My first finished object is my last project from my Make 9 board. Now, there was one project on my Make 9 board that I did not complete this year. I tried, but it didn't work out for me. It was a crocheted cardigan that I attempted and failed at a couple of times, and just decided to use that yarn for a different cardigan, which I did finish. But anyway, my plans changed. So this is the last project from my Make 9 board that I will be making. And so I'm very happy that I was able to complete 8 of the 9 projects that I had on my board. And yeah, I'm very, very happy to have this project complete. This is the Hiraeth shawl, which is such a beautiful design by Claire Walls of Flossy Knits. And last time I recorded, this shawl is worked from the longest side, and then you decrease as you go along. So your stitches get less and less as you go along making this shawl, which is nice. You cast on, where is it? On this edge with this ribbing. You're casting on, I don't remember exactly, I think over 200 stitches to cast on, and you work this ribbing. And then the majority of the shawl is just done in garter stitch, but then there's this beautiful lace pattern along this one side, which I just love so much. So the pattern is written for DK weight yarn. I ended up using fingering weight yarn held double to make a DK weight gauge. I used Knit Picks Palette Yarn in the Oregon Coast Heather colorway, which is fingering weight, 100% non-superwash Peruvian Highland wool. And I love this colorway so much. This is the second project that I have made using this colorway. I made a pair of mittens, colorwork mittens, quite a while ago for my mother-in-law using this colorway. And I just fell in love with it because I just love the tones and different colors in this yarn. It's so beautiful. I used the recommended needles, which were US 7 4.5 millimeter needles. I cast this on in August, and I just finished it. I didn't write down the date. I'm surprised I didn't. I keep doing that. I've done that a couple of times now. I finished it on Saturday morning, so that would have been November 18th. So I need to write that down before I forget. But anyway, it turned out enormous. It turned out so big that I really don't think it's wearable. I haven't checked my gauge again after blocking it, but I didn't. I normally never gauge swatch for a shawl. I probably should have gone down a needle size because I am a loose knitter, and that might have helped, but it's still like extremely large. This is, I mean, I've had it on my lap here as I've been recording the beginning of this episode, and it works really, really well for a lap blanket. But for a shawl, I just don't think I'm going to get a ton of use out of it as a shawl because it's so huge. So I will stand up. Oh, and on my last episode, I had mentioned that I also ran out of yarn, even though I had gotten the right amount of yardage. So that's another clue that probably my gauge, I measured my gauge unblocked and it was right on, but I'm assuming that my gauge is a little bit looser than her gauge because I ran out of yarn. I didn't have enough yarn. I had to use 2 more balls of the Knit Picks palette. They're 50-gram balls. I didn't use all of, I had 1 partial ball left, but anyway, I did have to get 2 more balls in order to finish this project. I will go ahead and stand up so that you can hopefully get an idea of how huge this is. Ooh-wee. It is ginormous. Okay, if you are new to this channel, I've mentioned before, but I'm a pretty tall girl. I'm 5'10", so that just gives you a little bit of perspective. It's not like I'm a very little person. I'm a big person as for a woman anyway. You know, I'm not a small person or petite or anything. Anyway, so the fact that this looks so enormous even against my stature is telling you something. It's so big. So it's more of a blanket, I think, than a shawl for me. If I drape it over, it goes down to my knees on the back here, and these front tails hang almost to my socks, like past my mid shin. They're past that. It's only like maybe 6 to 8 inches from the ground. The ends of these tails hang way low. So, you know, I've tried to style it by wrapping it around, but it looks a little ridiculous because it's so huge. I mean, I can, but I just don't think I will get a lot of wear out of it. I love huge shawls, but this just goes to a new level. The reason why I picked this pattern was because I knew it was a big shawl. Oh, it's really difficult to make it look presentable, I think. I mean, it's cozy, all right, but I just don't think I would be wearing this. I'm having a hard time. I don't think I would be wearing this out much. You'd think it would stay since it's so big, but it doesn't stay very well. Okay, let me think. I did style it in one way that I thought maybe I would wear it like this. Doing it like, I think this is like the hap. If you had a hap. How people style haps. But usually when you style it like this, you tie it in the back. Right here, and then you can kind of wear it around like this. But this one's so long, I can tie it again in the front. So, I mean, maybe I could wear it like this. Oh, I cinched up my dress. I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna do that. I don't know. I'm just trying to think. I did have it styled at one point in a way that I was like, okay, maybe I would wear it like this. But it's not the easiest thing to do. Okay, maybe like this. I mean, it's not gonna be something I can even wear with a coat, because the coat's not gonna, I don't know, work well with this. It's more of a poncho. This is pretty, I guess. But I don't think I'm going to actually wear it, which is disappointing, but it is pretty. I don't know. I think it's just too big though. It's just not practical. But I have an idea for it. I think I'm just going to, not right away, but maybe within the next, I don't know, 6 months or so, my plan is to make another one, but probably without the lace panel, just a plain garter stitch one. I have a ton of Knit Picks palette, and so I thought I would just make a second shawl basically, following the pattern and the stitch count and the needle size and everything, keeping it the same, and doing it more of a scrappy, doing it in a scrappy way, holding two different colors together and just going through my Knit Picks palette stash and using a lot of that up. And then my plan is to seam the two shawls together to make a blanket, because I think I'll just get more use out of it as a blanket. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not going to do that right away. So if I end up getting any use out of it, maybe I won't do that. But that's my thought right now, because I just don't think I'm going to get a ton of use out of it. But if you can imagine this as one half of a blanket, and then I can just seam these two long sides. I would seam it together along this diagonal line, and it would turn out to be a great sized blanket. So that's my thoughts for now. I think that'll work out well. I hope so. I don't know. I'll keep you all updated on. Obviously, you'll find out along the way if I end up making another one to be the second half of this, if I decide to turn it into a blanket. Okay, while I have my chair pushed back, I want to talk about another finished object, which is what I'm wearing. I made another Hinterland dress, which is a pattern by Sew Liberated. This is the third one that I've made. I was originally inspired to join in the Hinterland dress make-along that It Is a Sarah and her friend Jessica are hosting. And so if you've watched before, you've seen, but I've made one in a red gingham fabric that was kind of just a trial run version. I've made one more recently out of some vintage brown corduroy fabric that I had in my stash. They used to be curtains that I had in my old home. And I really wanted to try to make this pattern using some knit stretchy fabric. So knit fabric, what do you call that? Jersey, like knit stretchy fabric. This is my typical uniform from day to day. I wear a dress that's a little bit shorter in length, and then I wear it with leggings. And I have several in my wardrobe, but I thought it would be so fun to try to make this pattern and make a dress that I could just have as an everyday dress that I would wear probably more often than the other Hinterland dresses that I've finished. And I'm super happy. I was nervous about how it would work to sew knit fabric because I'm not an experienced sewist and I haven't made a ton of garments, and I know that sewing with knit jersey fabric can be a little bit more tricky. So I was just nervous that how it would work out. I just have a standard, well, it's a Singer heavy duty sewing machine, and I hadn't ever sewn anything that was stretchy on it, I don't think, unless it was just maybe mending sweatpants for my boys or something like that maybe. And I just always use a zigzag stitch if I'm mending anything that is stretchy. But I did a little bit more research on using my machine, and I found out that my machine has a whole setting for stretch stitches, which was super exciting for me to find out. So I was able to use that stretch stitch setting on my machine, and it worked out really well. So I was able to size down an incredible amount when I made this dress. The first dress I made, I sized, so the original pattern calls for a lot of positive ease. If I go by my regular measurements, I should make a size 14. My first dress, I made a size 10 because I didn't want that much positive ease. It was made out of quilting cotton, and it just fits. There's not a lot of wiggle room in there, but I mean, it fits. It's not tight. It's not too tight, but there's not a lot of wiggle room. The second dress I made out of the brown corduroy, I made in a size 12 because I wanted to use that as a layering piece. But I found that I like the bodice of it, but the skirt part of it was just too full. Well, it is very, very full, and it's just really not very flattering. Anyway, I measured, like I said, I have a lot of dresses that are made out of knit jersey fabric that I just have in my regular wardrobe that I wear every day. And I measured a couple of those and compared it to the dress measurements for the Hinterland dress. And I found that I could make the smallest size, which is a size 0, or a size 2. And, you know, some of my dresses vary, but they range between those measurements. Let me go grab the pattern because I can't remember what the measurements are for those sizes. So the 0 size has a finished measurement bust circumference of 34.5 inches, and the size 2 goes up to 35.5. For comparison, the 14, which I'm supposed to make according to my sizes, ends up with a 42.5 inch bust circumference. The 12 is 41, and the 10 is 39.5, just for reference. But anyway, I decided to go with the size 2 for this one. Since it's, you know, stretchy, obviously it stretches a lot. So my bust circumference is about 38 inches. So the size 2 gives me negative ease of 2.5 inches of negative ease. But I think it works for this kind of fabric to go down a size. I made the View B, which has the sleeves. This is the first time I've done that. The other two dresses I made, I did sleeveless options. On the first one, I did just a bodice placket. On the second one, I did a full placket. And on this one, I actually did no placket. I put in a faux placket later, but the front piece is actually just cut as one full piece. And that's also an option that they talk about in the pattern where you don't have to include a placket. I did end up putting in just a faux placket that you can see kind of if you look carefully. And I sewed buttons on that match perfectly, so you can barely even see the buttons, but they're there. But it's all just for looks. And it's just the bodice. It just goes on to the bodice or to the waistline. So it's just a faux bodice placket. Let's see. I did the shorter version for the skirt instead of the longer version. And I'm happy with that length. I could go a couple inches longer maybe on my next one because I plan to make more of these. I'm just so happy with how this one turned out. It's so comfortable. The fabric that I got is from Joann, and it is so soft and comfortable to wear. I'm so happy with it. It is called Rust White Stretch Jersey Knit Fabric. It is 85% polyester and 15% spandex. So I really enjoyed working with it. I did have a little bit of difficulty because the fabric has a tendency to get caught down in the foot feed. So that was a problem once in a while. It wasn't too terrible. I didn't have too many problems with that, but it was not uncommon for my fabric to get caught down in the foot feed, and I would have to get it out of there. If anybody has any tips on how to prevent stretch fabric from getting caught in the foot feed, I would love to hear your advice on that. I ended up using just the straight stitch, which again is on the stretch stitch setting, and I don't know if you'll be able to see. Maybe here you can see. Well, I mean, it's just a straight stitch. But the way that it works is it does something like 2 stitches forward, 1 stitch back, 2 stitches forward, 1 stitch back, or something like that, so that there's a lot of stretch. And it worked really well. I tried using a very small zigzag stitch, and I did do that on some of the inside stitches, but for the most part, I did just a plain straight stitch. I was nervous about sewing on this fake placket that it would just not sew it nicely, but it really did. Oh, I did lower the bust darts on this version 1 inch. They're still not great. The bust darts aren't great. And I think on my next one, I'm going to try to adjust the bodice so that it doesn't have bust darts, because I just don't think it's necessary when I already have so much negative ease to have the bust darts. I think I'm just going to try to somehow make the front bodice not have bust darts. I'll see about that. Let's see. I think I added or talked about everything. The only thing I'm not super happy with on this one is the hem. And I guess it's not too noticeable. The main problem I have is on the sides. So it looks pretty good from this angle, but when I turn to the side, there you can see that under the pocket, it just kind of puckers funny. And I didn't notice that until I hemmed the bottom. I don't know if I just didn't notice it, but it was already like that before or not. But there are pockets, and those went well. But I think on my next version, I'm going to try it without the pockets. I don't think I'll get a ton of use out of these pockets. I mean, they're kind of nice to have, but none of my other dresses that I wear on an everyday basis have pockets. And I guess once in a while, I'm like, I don't have a pocket. I don't have anywhere to put this, sort of a thing. But I'm just going to try my next version without pockets to see if that will help the sides not to do this puckering thing. It's not a big deal, but it's just one little adjustment that I would like to improve on. I think everything else went really well, though. I'm really happy with the fit. The neck facing went really well. I've talked about that in other versions, how I had a hard time with the neck facing, but this one again went really well. No problems there. So I'm really happy, and I'm excited to try to tweak this dress pattern to be just perfect for me. I've already ordered some more fabrics that are supposed to be coming today from Joann. I ordered them online, and I'm super excited. Oh, I also found that this pattern, this size 2 for the View B. Now, I did make the shorter version, so that is not included on the fabric requirements for this dress. I think they only include the fabric requirements for the longer version, which is about 6 or 7-ish inches longer than the short version. But for this, I got the 54-inch wide fabric, and it said that I would need 3.2 yards in order to make this version. I got the end of the ream for this fabric because it was on clearance, and it was only 3 yards. That's all they had, which was great because then I got an even bigger discount. It was already on sale for being on clearance, and then they gave me an extra discount because it was the end of the bolt of fabric. But I only used 2 yards. I still have over a yard of fabric left. I have about a yard and maybe 5 or 6 inches left. So I only ordered 2 yards of fabric. And all of the fabric that I ordered online was on sale as well. It was all around $7, and then I also got some type of a coupon included with my order. So each of my dresses only will cost $12 for the fabric. The fabric only costs $12 per dress. So I thought that was a great deal. So I ordered 6 more fabrics to make more dresses. So I'll have plenty of dresses in my wardrobe if I end up making all 6 of them. Anyway, I'm just super excited to be able to pick out my own fabric and make my own clothing that I'll actually wear on an everyday basis. The other 2 Hinterland dresses, I don't think I'll wear on an everyday basis. I haven't been since I've made them. I haven't worn them at all, in fact. But anyway, I hopefully will wear them some, but I don't think I'll wear them on an everyday basis because I just prefer wearing something that's stretchy and soft and easygoing. And I feel like this fabric really lends itself to that. So I'm excited to be able to make some more dresses that I will wear on an everyday basis. I think that is all I have to say for this dress. Yeah, I think so. So I have one more finished object, and I'm get back in my chair to talk about that. My last finished object is my 11-year-old son's sweater. I just finished it last night, and I'm super pleased with it. I haven't had a chance to wash it. I want to give it a good wash to see if some of my stitches will even out. You can see that there is a bit of unevenness in my stitching, but it is a handmade thing, so I guess that's to be expected. The pattern that I made for my son's sweater is called Metamorphic by Lisa K. Ross. I modified the pattern quite a bit well, not a ton, but the original pattern has some color work that goes along the chest and onto the upper part of the sleeves, and I eliminated that. I also used different yarn. The original pattern calls for DK weight yarn, and I used worsted weight yarn. The yarn that I used is Yarn Bee Yarn ID in the soft succulent colorway, which is worsted weight, 80% acrylic and 20% polyamide. I believe that this is a discontinued yarn now though. But I really enjoyed working with this yarn. It was a really nice acrylic to work with. My son is quite sensitive to wool, and so acrylic was definitely a necessity for him because I've made him wool sweaters in the past and he can't stand the itch of the wool on his skin. He picked out this yarn though, so he is very, very happy with this sweater. Since I had a different gauge than the original pattern, since I was using worsted weight yarn instead of DK weight yarn, I went down a size for him. So I would have normally made him a size 12, but I went down to a size 10, and this fits him really, really well. I did even make some adjustments though in the raglan. I split for the sleeves sooner than I should have, and I did the raglan increases more rapidly. Well, I definitely did the raglan increases more rapidly than what the pattern called for. And I think I also split for sleeves a little bit sooner, but I kept trying it on my son as we went along to make sure it was a good fit for him. I used US 6 4mm needles for the majority of the project, and then I went down to US 4 3.5mm needles for the ribbing. It's all done in 2x2 ribbing. And this is the second time I've knit this sweater. The first time I did do the color work and I did use DK weight yarn, but it worked really well in the worsted weight as well. I love the button placket here. The buttonholes are made in a really cool way. And I'm very, very happy with how it turned out. I just love the Henley style of this pattern. So he's very happy with it, and he needed a new sweater to wear to church and other, you know, he won't use this for every day. It'll be something he wears. I'll try to have him keep it nice. So he'll wear it probably on a weekly basis, but not playing out in the mud or anything like that. We'll keep it nice so it's for church and other nice things like that. I did do some modifications to the sleeves as well. My kids are going in and out a lot, so you might hear the door shutting in the background. I hope that is not a bother, and hopefully it's not as loud as it is to me. But anyway, I did make some modifications on the sleeves. On the last sweater, the last Metamorphic sweater that I made, I noticed that the sleeves were rather tight, in proportion to the rest of the fit. So I just knit straight until I was past my son's elbow. Like I said, I kept trying it on him. Once I was past my son's elbow, I had knit 42 rounds of just straight stockinette, and then I did 6 decrease rounds and spaced them out as she calls for in the pattern. But that was less decrease rounds. I think she maybe called, I can't remember, but I know I did less decrease rounds than what she called for. And I just didn't want them to be too tight. So this will probably be a layering piece for him. He'll definitely wear a t-shirt under this. He may also wear a button, like a collared button-down shirt under it as well. So I wanted to make sure it wasn't too tight. And I also want it to fit him for hopefully more than just this 1 year. Hopefully it will fit him for at least a couple of years, and then it can be passed down to my youngest son, who is 10. So hopefully he will enjoy wearing it down the road too, even though it's, my 11-year-old son picked it all out and everything, but hopefully my younger son will also like it later on. Let's see, I think that covers everything. I think so. It really worked up pretty quickly once I focused on it. Last time I recorded, I was about here in the body and hadn't knit any of the sleeves or collar or anything. So I finished my first skein of yarn. That got me, down in this area probably. I went back and did the neckline and the button placket at that point, and then finished the body and then did the sleeves last, and yeah, it worked out really well. he's so happy with it. So I'm very, very excited that I was able to finish that off for him. Okay, those are my finished objects. So now I will go on to my works in progress. The first one is being held in this beautiful bag that was gifted to me by some family friends. And I had mentioned that I was also going to be making a Musselburgh hat for the same 11-year-old son, and he picked out yarn for that, and I have started it. So this is a super easy project. So the Musselburgh is a pattern by Ysolda Teague, and I am making this also using worsted weight yarn, 100% acrylic worsted weight yarn that is in my stash. My son went through my stash and picked out yarns that he wanted for this hat. And this is, I can't remember now, 4th time, I think, making the Musselburgh hat using worsted weight yarn, which is not what the pattern calls for. The pattern does have a range of yarn that you can use to make this hat, but it only goes from fingering to DK weight yarn, and I'm making this out of worsted weight yarn. But using US 6 4mm needles, I'm able to get a gauge of 5 stitches to 1 inch, which is the loosest gauge that Ysolda provides in the pattern. I am making the adult medium size, but I will be knitting it to the adult large length so that there's plenty of extra fabric to roll up a cuff to cover the ears. I just like having a lot of generous length in the Musselburgh hat so that there's a lot of extra fabric to cuff up. So this is the first color that my son picked out. My daughter made this beautiful progress keeper for me. I love that. This first color is a mystery yarn. I think my friend Tina got it for me or gave it to me, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But anyway, there was no tag on it. It's showing up more blue on screen. It's really like a turquoise, or yeah, like a turquoise color. Anyway, I am done using that. I've just started the second color. My son picked 3 colors that he wants in this hat. And so I've just started. I've knit like only a few stitches here using the second color, which was gifted to me by Kim, a viewer of this channel. And this is Caron Simply Soft Paints in the Oceana colorway. This is also worsted weight, 100% acrylic, but this one seems a bit thinner than the other yarn I was working with. So hopefully that won't be a problem, that this seems a little bit thinner than the first color I used. But I divided the length of the adult large length that I get. I divided that into 3 so that I ended up with 7.75 inches for each color. So I knit this teal color or turquoise color until it measured 7.75 inches. And then I just switched to this color. I'll knit this for 7.75 inches as well. And then the third color is going to be this green, which was gifted to me by Kim as well. And this is Big Twist Value yarn from Joann. It's also 100% acrylic, and it's in the Varsity Green colorway. So here's the 3 colors for the hat. It will go in this order. And I have, like I said, just started this second color, and I am going to be, if you watched the last episode, I made a cowl for my son, and when I switch colors, I do a slip stitch pattern to get a fun little transition between the colors, and I'm doing that on this one as well. On the cowl, I did knit 2, slip 1 for 2 rounds. On the hat, since my stitch count is different, I'm doing knit 3, slip 1, again for 2 rounds when I start my new color. So you can't see that yet, obviously, but I'm excited to get into this second color. It's my favorite of the ones that he picked out. I love the variegation of it, so that will be fun to work up. But very, very easy, travel knitting on this project. I think that's it for that one. My next project is a pair of socks that I'm knitting. These are my Knit Picks Felici socks for the month of November. They're being held in this cute bag by Danielle of Midwest Stitches. She gifted me this bag. And I am knitting the Roots Run Deep pattern by Kay Litton of Crazy Sock Lady Designs. And I am enjoying this pattern a lot. I love it so much. The colorway that I'm using for the month of November is called Punch Bug. And I love it. I think it is working up so well. When I had my yarns all, I had organized them and picked out a different colorway for each month for the entirety of the year. And this color I wasn't super excited about just looking at the skein, but knitting it up, I just think they're super fun. I just love the colors. I think they're really great for fall, and yeah, I'm so happy with how they're turning out. I didn't have full skeins of this because I did use this colorway in another pair of socks. If I can find a picture, I'll put it here so you can see how I used this colorway before. My daughter has these socks in her sock collection now. I've gifted them to her. And anyway, so I didn't have full skeins, and so I needed to use some contrast colors for a contrast color for the heels, the cuffs, and I'll also use them for the toe probably. That's also Knit Picks yarn in this Knit Picks Stroll in the Rain Heather, something Rain. Oh, I was on the right page. Rainstorm Heather. So the cuffs are, I modified the cuffs. Okay. I modified this pattern by casting on only 60 stitches. The original medium size has you cast on 64 stitches. And the original cuff is also different. It's a patterned cuff. It's not just a simple ribbed cuff. It's syncopated to kind of go along with the patterning of the sock. But I just wanted to do more of a simple cuff. So I just did 1 by 1 twisted rib for 20 rounds using US 0 2mm needles. And this pattern was easily modified to only have 60 stitches because, as you can see, the pattern only runs down the center of the sock. The rest of the sock is all done in stockinette. So reducing the stitch count to 60 stitches wasn't a huge modification. I absolutely love the pattern that runs down the front, especially this middle beautiful diamond-like pattern. It works really well with self-striping. I don't have to change the pattern at all, and it's just done using slip stitches and knit stitches, so when the colors change, it doesn't break up the pattern at all. I think it looks super cool. I want to use especially that stitch pattern in some more self-striping socks down the road. I do modify, there are some purl stitches along the edges here, and so when I get to a color change, I knit all the stitches so that I don't have any purl bumps when I have a change of color of yarn. The last time I recorded, I was up here where this cute pumpkin pie stitch marker is marking. My cousin Allie made that for me. Perfect timing of the year. Thursday this week is Thanksgiving, so any of fellow Americans out there watching, I wish you the best Thanksgiving. And anyway, it's a great time to use that stitch marker. I was way up there, so I've finished the leg. I probably went a little bit longer. I know I went a little bit longer than what the pattern recommends, but of course you can just knit as long as you want to, and I like my legs a little bit longer. Generally around 70 rounds for the leg, not including the cuff. Has a slip stitch heel flap. And now I am onto the foot, and I'm about 40 rounds into the foot. So I knit for 50 rounds on the foot, and then I start doing the last 30 rounds of my foot using, if you've watched before, you know that I put into the ball of my socks, I always use a slip stitch detail on the bottom of my socks at the last, I can't talk, where the ball of my foot is, I do a slip stitch pattern on the bottom of my socks to reinforce that section of my socks. So I will be doing that in a little bit. I didn't explain that very well, but anyway, I'm really enjoying these so much. But I'm running into a little bit of a problem that I just discovered this morning as I was working on these. There was a knot in one of the skeins of yarn, and so I had to cut it. And then I noticed that it's kind of a tangled mess right now, but you'll be able to see that I noticed right after the knot, the color changed goofy, and it has this white section. There's no white in this colorway. So I'm already working with limited yarn since I had used up part of these skeins, and now I have part of the yarn that's not usable because I want these socks to match. I like my socks to match. I do have this one little extra ball that I may need to break into. Hopefully it'll work out. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. I don't know, but I need to get past this little white section and hopefully get back on track. So hopefully that will go well. But I love the pattern so much. It's one of my favorites, really, that I've made a lot of case patterns, and this is definitely up there on one of my favorites. I'm enjoying it a lot. Okay, my next work in progress is another pair of socks being held in this cute bag that my 10-year-old son gifted to me. I don't know who made it. It's handmade. Well, I probably do. He got it. It's probably made by one of his cousins. He got it as kind of like a hand-me-down from his cousins. Maybe they didn't make it. I don't know. But it's a hand-me-down from one of his cousins, and he gifted it to me then. I'm making a pair of socks for my husband. He requested some more socks. I've only made him 2 pairs of socks, and he said that he would like to have some more. So I'm very happy to make him some more. All of the socks, all 3 pairs of socks that I have made him, I've used Patons Kroy socks yarn for his socks. This colorway is called 50s Stripes, and it is 75% superwash wool and 25% nylon. Let me make sure I've got that right. I don't think it's merino. No, it's just 75% wool, 25% nylon. The heel colorway. So last time I recorded these, I was way up here. I had just started them. And this stitch marker is from Emily of Salt City Knits. When she used to sell yarn, this was a progress keeper that she included on a sock set that I purchased from her. Anyway, I cast on 56 stitches for Chris's socks, and I'm using a larger needle since Patons Kroy yarn is thicker than normal fingering weight yarn. I'm using a US 1.5, 2.5 millimeter needles, and I am just doing 2x2 ribbing for the entirety of the sock, except on the bottom of the foot. I'm just doing plain stockinette. So for he likes his socks shorter, so I knit 3.5 inches in length before I put in this slip stitch heel flap, and the yarn that I used for that is a different colorway by Patons Kroy called Singin' the Blues Stripes. So now I'm just working down the foot, and it's really an easy project to have on the go as well. You know, I'm gonna go a little bit further on the foot, but they're working up pretty quickly. I haven't been focusing on them a ton, but I've gotten a lot of them. You know, there's quite a bit of progress there, but I think I should be able to finish them up pretty quickly now that I have finished a few of my other works in progress that I already shared with you. So I think I'll finish these up pretty quickly, which is good because I have 2 more pairs of socks that I want to make for Christmas gifts. So I want to get these done so I can get those other socks done as well. One more work in progress that is a new project that I just started on Saturday. And I probably shouldn't have started it yet, but I have been waiting to start this project for so long. I've been wanting to make this project for a really long time, but I wanted to make the Hiraeth shawl before I started this project. So since I finished the Hiraeth shawl, I gave myself permission to start this project. It is the Ariana Cardigan, which is a free pattern by Amy Christoffers. And I wanted to use up a lot of my Knit Picks palette yarn that I mentioned. I have quite a bit in my stash. And the original pattern, I believe, calls for worsted weight. But again, I'm changing my yarn weight on this project as well. I'm using fingering weight held single, so it's going to be a lot thinner than what the original pattern calls for. But I'm just making, so the Ariana Cardigan is made up using granny squares for the majority of it. And then the ribbing is knitted on. So I am making my squares to the same measurement, pretty much, as the original squares are. And I think that I will be able to get away with using fingering weight yarn just as long as, you know, my squares measure the squares that she has in her original pattern. I have 11 colorways that I'm using out of Knit Picks palette. And then I also have 2 yarns that I got, I think I thrifted them. I got them at a thrift store. They're called Yarns Brunswick in the colorways Black and Camel. And those are, so the Knit Picks palette is 100% Peruvian Highland wool. The Yarns Brunswick is 100% pure virgin wool, but those are also fingering weight yarns. So anyway, I've got a total of 13 colorways that I'm using for my squares. And then I will be using, I ordered quite a bit extra of the Oregon Coast Heather colorway that I used in the Hiraeth shawl to have as my border color for my granny squares. And then I'm also planning on using that colorway for the ribbing. So I've made 3 squares and I have thoroughly enjoyed the process of making these little granny squares. I'm using a 2.75 millimeter hook, and I ended up doing 8 rounds to get my squares to be the right measurement, which is 5.5 inches, I think, from corner to corner. So here are the 3 squares that I have used or have made, and I've used all of the colors in these. Most of them have been used twice already. But there you can get an idea of my color palette that I'm working with. And I've used most of these in other projects. So it's just fun to be able to use up my scraps for this project. So I made a cardigan a long, long time ago out of this deep green colorway. My Mayberry cardigan was made using the teal color here. And I made a pair of mittens out of this tan color here. I made a sweater out of this light purpley pink color as well. So it's just fun to be able to use up the little scraps that I have of this yarn. And I love the color palette. I think it's so pretty. There was one more color that I had in my stash. I forget what it's called. I should just go grab it so you can see it. So I have this one other skein or ball of Knit Picks palette called Lady Slipper. It's in the Lady Slipper colorway. I have no idea why I ordered this. Probably because it was on sale and I think at one point their yarn was really well discounted, and I ordered a variety of Knit Picks palette just so I could see it in person. And I think probably that's what this was. But it's really not my color. I don't know why I ordered it. Anyway, so this is the only one that I have in my stash that I'm not putting into it because I didn't want that bright color. I liked the more muted, earthy tones that I have in these colors. I love it. I think it just reminds me of like antique something. I don't know. I really love this color palette a lot. And I like how it still has a few color pops with the teal and the reds and even the pinky color and the golds. I don't know. I just like how it's muted and it's kind of subtle, but still very colorful and fun. But I think this color would have been like jarring, so I left it out. Anyway, super happy with that project. So I'm going to just be working on making a bunch of squares first before I start piecing them together. But I'm very, very excited about this project as well. It's a treat to work up those little squares. I love it so much. So those are all of the projects that I have to share with you today. I hope that you really enjoyed watching this episode, and I hope you all are doing really well. Again, happy Thanksgiving to my fellow Americans out there. I hope that you have a wonderful time with your family, and I wish all of you the very best, and I hope you all are doing very well. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.